Hello everybody, this is Travis Sennell with the Department of Criminal Justice Training's Physical Training Section. I'm here with Jared Northern to demonstrate the prone handcuff. If you haven't already watched the standing handcuff, I would suggest you go back and watch that. There's going to be a few points in that just for redundancy's sake, I don't want to go back over with every video. So there may be some finer points in that one that may not be in this one. So go back and watch that one before you watch this one. All right, so we're going to put Mr. Northern in prone position for handcuffing. You'll see some differences in this one versus obviously the standing or the kneeling. We're going to approach empty-handed on this one, and you'll see why as we go through.
Sir, you're under arrest. I want you to put your arms out to the side, parallel to the ground, palms facing me. Turn around until I tell you to stop. Stop. Go down your left knee. Go down your right knee. Put your palms on the ground in front of you. Lower yourself to the ground. Palms out to the side. Palms up. Spread your feet. Heels on the ground. Lift your arms up off the ground. Look to your right. Do not move. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, so here we are in our prone position. We want to make sure the feet are spread a really good distance. If they're too close, then that will allow him to roll into us or roll away from us. So we want them spread out as far as we can. We'd like the heels on the ground, or at least as close to the ground as we possibly can. Once again, to make it a little bit more difficult for him to move. Any of those little micro movements that he makes, we're hoping that we can pick up on those, and those could be indicators that he's becoming non-compliant. He's complied with us to this point. We want to try to maintain that. We have the palms up, which is going to help facilitate the handcuffing technique once we make our approach. And we have them off the ground, so we don't have to dig them out of the grass. They're a little bit more accessible for us. You're going to see with some people that have physical disabilities or prior injury, stuff like that, they may not be able to get both arms up off the ground. We ask them to do both, so it just really doesn't telegraph which side we're coming to. But we also have them look to the right, which tells you that we're going to approach from the left. We don't want him to see our approach, and we don't want to kick him in the face, probably more importantly. We don't want to kick him in the face as we make our approach. So here we go. All right, what you're going to see me do is I'm going to ground this shoulder. I'm going to make sure I'm going to place my hand simultaneously on the shoulder, and I'm going to establish a wrist lock with this hand over here simultaneously. When I say ground the shoulder, we want to make sure we put pressure on that shoulder as we lift this arm up. As it comes up to the post position, we want to make sure that we're not actually allowing him to roll into us. So we want to place a hand on the shoulder as we establish our wrist lock. All right, so now we've posted up on the arm, what we call posting up. You'll see that I have this knee on the ground, and I want to try and pull that up to his armpit as much as I can, but I definitely want it against his body. This knee is across the shoulder blades, and I'm not putting a ton of pressure on his back. A couple reasons we don't want to do that. Number one, we don't want to restrict their breathing. The second thing is if you start to restrict their breathing, you're going to get a response. It's going to cause fear and anxiety, and that's a trigger for the SNS. And we don't want them, we don't want to trigger their SNS any more than we have to. All right, you also see just a little bit out of frame. Hopefully it'll pop in here in a minute. I've established my wrist lock. I did when I first contacted the hand. Now you're seeing my left hand come over top of my right hand, and I'm transitioning my right hand out and my left hand on. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to grab my handcuffs with my right hand and get ready for my handcuff. All right, so once I get my handcuffs, you'll see that I am palm up. This hand is palm up. I want to apply the handcuffs. We typically call this cuff the bottom cuff because when we hold it horizontally, it's the bottom cuff. And so as we teach standing, we call that the bottom cuff. And when we get to teaching prone, we'll tell recruits, bottom cuff goes on first. And so they know which cuff that is. I may have to alleviate a little bit of the pressure on this wrist. I may have to raise that hand up just a little bit to make sure I have plenty of clearance around this wrist so I don't impede that single bar coming around and latching on the other side.
Put your arm small on your back.
All right, now you notice as I came down, I held this wrist lock all the way down to the small of the back. I maintained this grip, and I maintained the grip on the wrist lock until I got to the base, and then I transitioned over. Okay? But I want to maintain that grip on the wrist all the way down because that's the only control I have at this point. So I just don't want to let it go and drag the arm down the small back. I want to follow that wrist lock all the way to the pancake area. You notice I'm going to grab the fingers. I'm going to try and grab the fingers down here. I don't want to grab the wrist. If I grab the wrist, I'm only going to get in my own way. I won't be able to get that cuff on. So I'm going to grab the fingers, pull the arm up, and do what we call a bottom load of that hinge cuff. You see there, I took just a second to line that cuff up, make sure I had it lined up, push it on, get a good strong push. Now he's handcuffed. This position right here, we call thumbs up like Fonzie, because he's got both of his thumbs pointing up, his hands are back to back. If you happen to end up in the heat of the moment, if you end up with the hands stacked, if you know what that means, the hands would not be going this way, back and forth, they would be kind of up and down. If you end up with that, that's okay. Go with it. Don't think that you've done anything wrong. This is just, in this kind of a situation when you're in prone, something bad has gone wrong, just get the cuffs on and don't worry about the position of the thumbs. But this is the preferred method if you can do it. You see, I'm checking the pancake area real quick in the prone position, and now I'm going to go ahead and transition him up to a standing position.
All right, sir, put your feet together.
All right, now what this is a fish hook. We call fish hooking the bicep. I'm using my strong hand to fish hook the bicep. My left hand will come up and support the neck, but I'm doing all the lifting on this bicep. I will not put a lot of pressure, hardly any. I'm just guiding the head up, but I'm lifting right here on this bicep to get him up to a seated position.
We'll roll you up on your bottom. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Now, I transition to my wrist lock. I want to have control of this guy, so I go ahead and establish my wrist lock.
All right. Put your left foot underneath your right knee. On 3, we're going to rock.
Once again, I have fish hooked this bicep over here, and this is what I'm going to lift him with. Do not lift, put a ton of pressure on that wrist. That's going to be very painful. You're going to get a response that you probably will not like, and they're not going to like it, so don't put them in that position. Lift this guy up using this bicep right there.
3 times, we're going to come up to a standing position. You understand? Yes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All the way up. Okay.
The rocking motion just helps get them up. You get a little momentum going that way, and they come right up. No big deal.
Together.
Now I'm back to checking tension and double locking. Put my key away. I'm going to swim over, move over to the other side, check tension, tighten it up, double lock. Check it. You saw me check it right there. Just for a second. You saw, watch, I'll go back here just a little bit, and you'll see me kind of grab that cuff and shake it a little bit. And all I'm doing is just I'm squeezing with my thumb and my index finger on the other side just to make sure that cuff is locked, because sometimes you can't hear that double lock mechanism engage, and so it's always a good idea, just if you're not sure, just go ahead and squeeze that cuff to make sure they are double locked. All right, we're ready to go.